Morning for class. So let's first do some housekeeping. Somebody want to turn off half the lights? Or turn them all off. I think there's enough light from the windows to allow us to. All right, I sent everyone a Jupiter. Raise your hand if you did not read your Jupiter last night / this morning. All right. There's 2-3 people need to read it. You need to read what I sent you. You need to read. Listen, here's your goal should be. This is a goal that everyone in this room should have, everyone in this school should have. Everyone should be checking. Oh, there's something wrong with my tip. All right. Somebody should be checking. Everyone should be checking Jupiter once a day. And honestly, in the morning is the best time. Why do I say in the morning? Because there could be stuff that someone posted last night that you need for this morning, for today, before you leave your house. You would be surprised how many people are like, hey, there's this great field trip that somebody just called us today about. It's tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. If you're interested, come with this equipment and meet us on this floor. People don't think that about teachers and students need to plan this stuff. And opportunities from the Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Browns, opportunities from Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals, the mayor. They just make a phone call. Hey, the mayor has half a day today. We need like 10 kids to come on down and be part of a focus group or something like that. If you're interested in doing any of that stuff, which a lot of you would be at any given day, you need to be checking those Jupiter messages. And a lot of it's not going to be for you. That's fine. At least you're aware of what's going on in the building. Does that make sense? So every morning, at least once a day, I check it all day long. I have it coming up on my phone as a notice all day long. I don't respond every day, all the time. If I get an email from you or your parents, and it's stuff that I have to prioritize. Does that make sense? I have to grade. I have my life at home. I have issues I'm dealing with students and families throughout the day. So maybe I don't respond right away that day, but I do read them all, okay? I do read all your messages. Schoology gets kind of crazy. I have to fine tune the notices because they're notifying me about everything, and your messages get lost in the shuffle. I literally get like 600 messages a day from Schoology because every time someone turns something in, every time I mark attendance, Schoology sends me a message. I'm like, I don't need that. I got to fine tune that. But Jupiter, I read it goes right to my email. So I do get all your messages. Sometimes I'll wait till the next day to answer your question in class. If I don't answer your question in class, and I'll answer it in a general way, like somebody might say, hey, I don't have a cell phone. How do I submit stuff? Well, I'll explain it in class without mentioning you. Does that make sense? Yeah? I'm trying not to put any of your personal business out anywhere. I'm just trying to solve the problem. Usually when I do that, there's more than one person with the problem. All right? And then for every 2 or 3 people that have the problem, there's probably 5 that didn't say anything. Right? So if I just say it to the whole class and then post it, like I'm going to post this, I think it solves everyone's problem, or at least tries to solve everyone's problem. So you should check Schoology as well. Check Schoology once a day, at least. Now, Schoology, it should be, you know what, I'm not even putting once a day. I think your goal should be throughout the day. You should be checking Schoology all day long because you have all your grades are there. I said this in the orientation packet. You should have read it, that welcome packet. It's posted on Schoology. Some of you can't get into Schoology. Some of you didn't come to the orientation because, whatever, you're on vacation or you didn't wear aware of it or whatever the situation is. I don't know. There's a million reasons. But in that orientation packet, we did discuss not just what this floor is and the various general procedures. We also pointed out a number of things where your grade, for instance, one of the things that we talked about was where your grades are. Where your grades are. Where do I go to check your grades? We talked about databases. I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing it again because some of you weren't there. You should be taking notes. Anything I put on this board, I expect you have written down. If I'm writing it down and presenting it on the board, guys, I'm expecting that you're writing it down. And so when I check notebooks, I might check for this. This might be the thing I check for. You don't know. So if it's written on the board, that's the bare minimum of your recording task. If I'm doing a PowerPoint and there's a million words on the board, obviously you can't write all that down. That's a waste of everybody's time. But if I'm writing it on the board, that gives you time to write it. If you're asleep because it's the morning, and I can see some of you asleep. Again, there is coffee. You can go. What I used to do in the Army is put when I had classes in 102 degrees, sweating, in the field, in a tent, exhausted with 4 or 5 hours sleep, after running 2 miles, doing PT in the morning, marching 20 miles, going in a cattle truck, like all that stuff. We would have classes afterwards, exhausted. If I was really hot and was falling asleep, you did not want to fall asleep in the Army, because what would they do? Do what? No, they make you do push-ups in the heat. It was not a happy day, and they yell at you. You want to hear yelling? You go to boot camp or in the Army and fall asleep in class. People will go insane on you. So what we would do is we would go to the bathroom and we put water in the back of our neck, wash our face. We'd stand up. If we're falling asleep, we'd stand up. We'd try to get more sleep the night before. We'd make sure we drank enough water. It's because we knew those were the things that would make us, those were the things that allow us to feel tired and to fall asleep. All right, so try to deal with it that way. So grades, where are grades? Where's the information? Let's be clear. Schoology will be where you're going to keep where your grades are housed. This is where grades are all your assignments. Assignments are put in. Attendance is done. All right, all that's there in Schoology. Jupyter, there probably will not be any grades in Jupyter. Some classes, I can't imagine anybody putting grades in Jupyter. We used to use Jupyter for grades, but the district theoretically went to Schoology. Jupyter is just for communications. Why do we use Jupyter for communication? Okay, there's a couple reasons why. Schoology has a couple problems. It's hard for parents to get in.
We don't get enough information from them like Jupyter.
And communication. And for parents, it's hard for parents to get in, to get communication. It's hard for parents to access. And of course, because we do get people from out of the district and because of all other kinds of issues that the district is dealing with, sometimes there's a lot of little formalities that I don't understand. I don't pretend to understand any of it. As students, there's a delay. There's a delay for student access is delayed. Bless you. So that's a problem, and we're experiencing it, aren't we? I think there's probably, I think we counted, as of yesterday, 10 kids that don't have access to Schoology, and that's a problem. It's because we need to communicate. We're in session. School started last week. I know we have a lot of ninth graders just came in yesterday, but school started last week. So we need communication, so that's why we use Jupiter's communication, because we control it. We have Reverend Greg, Ms. Perez, they have control over the Jupiter. It's a really good database and allows us to communicate with parents. We can text and email your parents. All the information is readily available. It's really easy to use. And again, we control it. Schoology, we do not control. We have this building level. At the building level, we have no control over it. This is all run, Schoology is all run through that portal called Clever. Clever's kind of the hub of everything. So Schoology works with Clever. Jupiter's outside it. Jupiter's outside Clever. So Clever's domain is pretty ubiquitous. Schoology's in there. Power School is not really part of it. Can you access it through Clever? No. Power School is in here in this circle of CMSD circle. And then you got the Microsoft suite. You got Teams. Those are all, and of course out here we also have Zoom. All right. Zoom and Jupiter, your teachers and the building control. Everything in this circle is CMSD controlled. For this, everything in this circle, you need a CMSD login. So the CMSD login controls everything in here. So Clever also allows you to access your ebook. But on the outside of CMSD's control, we have teacher resources. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so when we talk about that link I sent you with your ebook, your PDF of your books that you're gonna get, everybody should have. A lot of people do already have access to the ebook, but I sent you a list with the chapters, PDF of the chapters. That's my Google Drive. It's in my Google Drive. I sent it to you, so you have access to it. And you can read it because it's outside CMSD's control. So what I'm doing now, in the middle of doing, is I'm also creating, I already have created, but I'm adding to it and trying to build, to put all the things I have in Schoology. Those who have been in Schoology have seen it. Take all the assignments, everything in Schoology, and put them on a web page. On a teacher web page that I made the web page, and I'm going to put a lot of that information on an honors biology link. All right. So when you go to that web page, it's outside CMSD control, so you don't need CMSD login. You can use your cell phones. You can use your mom's cell phone. You can use your computer. You can use your uncle's computer, whatever. You get on the web page, the teacher web page, the one that I've already created, but I'm adjusting, I'm adapting, I'm updating for this year, and you'll be able to get those resources. Everything, all the Zoom, all the resources, all the assignments, will be posted on that web page. So then you'll have access to it and there's no issues. Obviously, the ebook is going to be on the PDF of the ebook is going to be on there. The only thing that I won't be able to post there, you won't be able to submit stuff. You can't submit anything. So any assignment, if you don't have access to Schoology, all this will be in Schoology as well. So I'm doubling everything up. Let's be clear. It's going to be in two places. It's going to be all material, class material, or as much of it as I can put. All material will be in Schoology and on the teacher webpage. I can't stand. I wish I could just have a table. I hate trying to draw while I'm holding this in one hand. It makes for a wonky line. Anyways. So all that's going to go on the teacher webpage, and that's going to allow you to access everything that you need. Now, there's one other thing, just like this video I'm making right now. This is going to be a video. You're not going to see my face. I don't like making videos with my face up in the corner and talking to you. I just think it's distracting. The whole point of notes is to write down what's on the board and pay attention to content. The video is not about me, it's about the content. I used to put my face on there, but I felt it was distracting. Plus, I don't like looking at myself. It's just annoying. All right, so you have a YouTube channel that it will also have all your class notes. So if you miss a day, if you fall asleep, you miss something in class, you go to the bathroom, you miss something in class, you have access to it. I'm going to try to divide everything into chapters, but sometimes I can't divide things into chapters. Usually I will combine lessons. So maybe if I do something Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's an hour and 50 minutes. I'll just upload it as one lesson. You're going to have to find the parts that you need. I don't expect you to watch the whole thing unless you were absent. Then, of course, you should watch the whole thing. So that YouTube is going to go into your web page. And, of course, I'm also going to put that link into your Schoology account as well. So again, everything's going to be doubled up. So YouTube is again outside of CMSD control. So what that allows us to do is not worry about all the technical issues that we have going on with Clever right now, where people don't have CMSD logins, so they can't get into Clever. All right. Now, when you get a CMSD login, really the best way to do it is first, at least this is what I've been told as of now, who knows, things change, so pay attention to the changes. That's why we should check our Jupyter messages every day, all right, because that's our communication hub. Microsoft is the first step when you log in. So you go to the student page, log in to, oh, I'm sorry, you're clicking on Clever first, my bad. First you click on Clever. Then you're going to go to Microsoft, use the Microsoft login. Don't try to use the Clever login. There's two options when you click on the Clever from that. So go to the Microsoft one, then you do your CMSD login from the home page, from outside. And then once you've logged in, you can go to Schoology or you can go to the ebook, right? PowerSchool is under CMSD control, but let's be clear, PowerSchool is where that's where the final grades, that's for report cards. PowerSchool is for report cards and attendance. Theoretically, eventually, the idea is that Schoology and PowerSchool will communicate perfectly with one another, but as of right now, it's a bit of a hit or miss. So everything is in transition. We'll be able to Once it transitions, I have high hopes that it'll go everything will go smoothly. That's my experiences, and those are my past experiences. But in the short term, there's going to be a lot of chaos. Now you see all these moving pieces, correct? Do you see all this? Can you understand why things are so somewhat confusing for everybody? All right. So when we're dealing with all this, you got to pay attention. That goes back to Jupiter communications. You got to kind of start with Jupiter, because this can be communications directly from the principal and your teachers. You got the classroom, the stuff we do in class. These two are directly controlled by you and me. This is you and I, right here. All this other stuff, there's 1,000 people involved in this, right? I mean, it's just outside our control. Everything in this bubble is outside of the control. YouTube, I'll create, and I control what goes up and what comes down. Our webpage, I control it. Jupiter, I control what I sent you, and the rest is this building controls. When we do Zoom links, it'll be us together, and any teacher resources that I post from my drive will also be under my control. So these are going to be key points, but eventually you're going to want to be able to use all this, because there's going to be college applications that come through Clever, through Schoology, etc. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come through there. Do not panic or feel bad if you don't have anything right now. If you don't have the Clever and eSchool stuff right now, the CMSD login right now, eventually they'll figure it out. It's going to take time. We have to have patience. I wish they already had it done. There's a lot of ifs, coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I don't worry about coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I worry about what is, and we deal with what we have to deal with. So, all right, let's move on. Who has notes from yesterday? Where did we leave off yesterday? What was it? Yeah, the notes I gave you, the example notes, we finished the first page where we said we had to make sure we keep up with our work. Back of the first page, we finished what? What did we finish? We talked about recording, correct? Say that again? I'm sorry, we have a lot of shuffling of papers, so. We talked about, I didn't hear what you said, all the different ways we record, all the different times we record. We talked about recording when you read a textbook, when you work in small groups. I think you should be writing down ideas, thinking about what you read and how it impacts what you're talking about, keeping things in context. You should be recording what goes on in class. That's what I just told you when you first came in. First thing you do is you have your recording device, which is your binder, right? Your binder goes on in class. You're going to record what goes on in labs and activities, right? And we'll have a formal way of writing that up. You're going to record what goes on in tutoring events. So that everybody agree that that's what we talked about yesterday? Okay. Then we went on and we talked about reducing, didn't we? Did we talk about how we reduce? What are some examples of reducing? What does reducing mean? Yeah.
Make something like smaller.
All right, make something smaller. I like that. Yeah, make something smaller. What's the point of reducing? Why is reducing such a valuable thing to a student? Why we recorded it, we wrote it down. Isn't that enough? By the way, what I find is that a lot of students, I don't want to say most because I don't know if it's most or not. I don't have that data. But I think a lot of students, what they do is they recorded it, they wrote it down, they are done. It's over. I did my job. I wrote it down. Therefore, I studied. At best, some students will read what they wrote down. They're done. Thank you. You're welcome, Mr. Mendoza. Recording is the beginning, not the end. All right, so what else? What's reducing? Why do we have to reduce it? Yeah.
Makes something easier to remember.
Everybody agree? Anybody have anything else to say? Yeah.
Find out what's important.
That's right. That's right. Good. Good. So it may reducing, and let me put it a different color. Reducing, what reducing does is allows you to make the information digestible. Reducing allows you to remember. It's memorable. Now you can memorize it. Now you can understand it. It's hard to understand an entire. If I told you read the unabridged Oxford Dictionary, you could read it, but it wouldn't help you much. Yeah.
So just basically simplifying it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I had to think about it for a second, but yeah, reducing is simplifying information. But let's be clear, it's not dumbing it down. The only reason I hesitated in agreeing with you on simplifying, the only reason is because I hesitated because some people think, well, let's just make it easy. Sometimes when you simplify stuff, you lose meaning. So you have to do one step before you reduce, so that you don't oversimplify, so that you don't lose meaning. And this young lady already told me, but I wonder if anyone else knows what you need to do before you do a good job at reducing, so you don't lose any meaning. What is it you have to do first? It's a big decision you have to do. One big thing goes into reducing. Yeah.
Decide what to do.
That's right. Decide. You don't have a nameplate? I put it right in front of you. Thank you. So Kylie is the one who first said it to me, but that's right. Jonathan, huh? Oh, is it? Oh, wait, hold on. Let me pause this. Okay, so we have to decide. We have to decide what is important. If we don't decide what's important, we're going to have issues, all right? Because if you just write down anything, the first thing you see, and you're not thinking about connections, and that's really what we're talking about. How do you connect it? How are these things? These ideas connected. All right. What's the meaning? So you have to be thinking of this in order to make that decision and make it more, to reduce it. Bless you. That's why you have to record everything and then reducing. Now, I want to point out that just by spending some time thinking about how things are connected and thinking about the meaning, that is the essence of studying. That's what studying means, is how do we connect things, understanding what the words mean and how they fit into the bigger picture is what studying means. Not reading, not writing it down. Writing it down, reading is necessary, but then you have to reduce it. You have to reduce it. All right, so what's the next step? Does anybody know? That's right, we have to review it. You have to review what you've reduced. You have your record, you recorded it, then you reduced it. Now you have to review it. You have to figure out what did I just do? How does it all, it's kind of like zooming out. You're zoomed in when you're reducing, or when you're recording and reducing, but then you got to zoom out and review and just take a breath and say, okay, how does this fit? Do I agree that what I did, the way I reduced it, did it make sense? Because I'm going to tell you right now, and this is true of PhDs, MDs, lawyers, teachers, everyone. I don't care how expert you are. When you're reducing, when you're recording and reducing and thinking about what's important, when you take a step back, take a breath and look at the problem anew, look at the content anew, often you find you've made some mistakes. Often you find you were thinking of things in a wrong way. Maybe not wrong, maybe there's a better way of looking at things. Maybe there's a better set of connections you can make. And so you rearrange the connections. You rearrange how you reduce things. So we review. We review to do that. And sometimes that means you go back and do it again. Do the reducing again. But sometimes you're good. The review's good. You're happy with it. Did it just do it again? It's not me, honestly. I don't know. I jinx myself, I'll tell you. So after you reviewed, if you're good with the review, if you're good, you feel like you have a good set of reduced information to the most important points, and you understand all the connections, and you reviewed that and you're happy with it, then you're going to recite it. Now, reciting means practice. Let me go ahead and write that down. Reciting means practice. And by the way, reviewing means zooming out. Looking at the big picture. Deciding if the connections you made make sense. Could someone close that door, please? All right, so you're reciting again, it's just practice. Reciting is probably the easiest thing you do, and everybody's going to do it a different way. I like index cards. Some people write the same information, the reduced information 50, 60 times. I went to school, one of your teachers here, and we took master's classes with her, and she would write her notes over 5 or 6 times. And that's how she put things in her long-term memory. I don't like doing that. I feel exhausted even just thinking about it. So one good way of looking at when you're doing your Cornell notes and you have your area where you have your summary. By the way, summary is a way, we'll talk about that in a minute. So here's your main ideas. What are main ideas? What are questions? What are these that go on this side? You guys have this format right in front of you. What are these main ideas and questions? What are these examples of?
Big points in your text.
Say what?
I think of main ideas, so like big points in your text.
Big points. So in this process, what would that be?
Reducing.
Reducing. That's how things are reduced. There it is. Right? So reducing is this in Cornell notes, automatically you're reducing the information. These are the details. This is your record. This is where you're putting the big ideas and all the information. This is where you're reducing. A summary, you're kind of reducing things in a way. You're kind of reducing, but there's one that's missing here that I like to put, and I didn't see it. It was missing. Reflect. So I like to reflect. And honestly, I hate to put it there, so I'm glad it's not in the circle. Reflect Review, I'm gonna put review, and I'm gonna erase this here. Review and then reflect after you reviewed. Do you mind if I erase this? It's probably gonna mess with your lives, but I'm gonna go ahead and erase it. Sorry about that, guys. So after you reviewed, you reflect. After you've reflected, you revise. And after you revise, then you recite. So I misdrew what I put on the board. I'm sorry. I did everything. It's been a crazy beginning to the year, so I do apologize for that. But try drawing this. And why do I say to do it this way? Because after you reviewed and you've looked to see what you're doing, you reflect and you decide whether you think it's your connections, your ideas make sense to you. So you go ahead and reduce them, okay? So in both these, you're going to go back and reduce if you don't like what you've done. If you like what you've done, if you're satisfied with it, go to the next step and you revise any mistakes any changes that you have. Maybe you made some changes. Maybe you've recorded some information. After you've reflected, after you've gone to tutoring, after you've discussed it with the teacher, after you've discussed it as a team, as a small group, you're like, oh, that was a mistake. I thought it was this way, and obviously it's not that way. We went over the test today, and I thought I thought that was a positive interaction, but it's a negative interaction. So I need to change that. We call that revising. All right, so you're changing it. After you've done all that practice and you're sure you got everything right, then you recite. Why is recite the last piece here in this cycle?
So you just make sure everything's right.
That's right, so you make sure everything's right. Listen, the way you get an A on a paper is not reciting it a million times. Reciting what you have written down, and it's a million times. Saying something a million times will not guarantee you the right answer. Practicing the right answer, the right way, gets you the right answer. If you practice the wrong information, you're gonna guarantee a wrong answer. And I can tell you that I can't tell you how many students in this room will do this. I can't tell you how many times I've done this, but I can tell you right now, even after all this, there will be people in this room that will think they have everything down. They're going to walk out of the test day. They're going to come up to the front of the room. They're going to hand me their answer sheet, feeling very good about that test that they just took, thinking they understood everything. They aced it. I'm going to scan their answers, and they're going to find out they're very disappointed. That's going to happen because you're human, not because there's anything wrong with you. Because you're human, that's going to happen. And the reason it's going to happen is because you did not do enough reflecting. You did not check your answers. You did the reciting the night before. You memorized the information, but the information you memorized was wrong. So you went in thinking you knew what was going on. Now, obviously, we're all going to take tests where we know we're not ready. We didn't put time in. Somewhere in our minds, we know we didn't do it. But the ones that you walk in and you think you got it down and you don't do well, it's because you did not check your answers. You didn't look at all the different sources of information. You just looked at one. You just wrote it down from class, and you went right to reciting. You didn't bother reducing it. You didn't bother to think about the connections. And you know what? It's not. I don't want to sound like I'm judging you because I'm not. I've done the same thing, and I'm likely going to do it again. Sometimes that's all that you can do. You do what you can. I'm not judging you, but I am telling you that if you want to do well, and especially the more complex topics, you have to follow these 6 R's. You have to record the information in some way, get the information from one of these sources. You have to reduce it. You have to decide what's important and simplify the information so that you can put it in a format that allows you to memorize what you need to memorize. You need to review it. You have to reflect if you understand the material or not. If you don't, or you feel like you haven't made the right connections, you have to go back and reduce it again. You have to revise it, change any mistakes, because maybe some of these information you had was absolutely wrong. You had it as a plus, it should have been a minus. You had it as a good thing, and it should have been a bad thing. You were thinking about things upside down. When you don't do this, it could lead to some really fundamental mistakes that a lot of people might laugh at. I don't laugh at any mistakes. I mean, I might laugh because it might be silly in the beginning. But realistically, I don't laugh at any mistake because, guys, I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made. For instance, I thought South America, almost my whole life, I thought South America was directly south of us. It's absolutely not. My wife's from Brazil. I was like, oh, we just go south. Her family's like, what? No. South America is not directly south of us. Look at Google Maps next time you take a chance and look at it. I bet you there's some people here that are shocked. It's actually east of us, southeast of us. Look at it. Go ahead. You're going to poke it out. Put Google Maps up. Look at South America. Look up South America. Google Maps, South America. And then zoom out. Well, I mean, it's south-ish, but you can't go. If you went straight south, you wouldn't hit South America. You'd hit open ocean.
Oh, yeah.
It's really disturbing.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I did not know that. I always assumed in my brain that South America there's so many mistakes.
That's
Look, I'm just telling you, just because you understood it and I didn't doesn't mean anything. It's just a mistake I made. I'm telling you, there's so many mistakes. I still have a ton of misconceptions in my brain. I don't know what they are. As soon as I find them, I correct them. Because I review, reflect, I review, I revise. But you can't do it all. Nobody has the time in the world to do it all. Can I give you a real silly one? That one child I had in 9th grade for physical science, we were doing rocketry where we're shooting rockets. And she raised her hand and she said, now she's a 9th grader, okay? And please don't laugh at her. It is silly, but don't laugh at her because she was really confused. It was really something she understood the world in a certain way. She said, how do you get through the blue shell?
what?
The rockets. How do rockets get through the blue shell? And I was like, what? I was just like you. I was like, huh? She said, I wasn't making fun of her or anything. I didn't. But the question was, how do you get to the blue shell? And I was totally confused. No one in the class could understand what she was saying. And she went over to the globe, and she tapped on the globe, this blue shell. How do you get through it? She thought that blue on the globe was the blue sky. Like it was a real hard shell that was around us, protecting us from space. She didn't understand that the light... Now, this just sounds silly, but if you think about it, if you look up, you see blue. What is blue? No. The sky's not blue. The sky's air. This air has no color. What's blue? See? So you don't really know, right? It's a confusion. You're kind of right. You guys are kind of right with water, but it's not water. Water is not blue. Guys, water is not blue. Pour water in a glass and pour it. It is not blue. Water is clear, allows light to go through. What happens is that light refracts through water, changes direction. Blue changes direction the least, so the light that you see in the sky is blue. By the way, the ocean is not blue. The ocean is reflecting the sky. The ocean is not blue. The ocean is clear. Water is clear. It has no color. Harsh, right? What color is your blood in your veins? It's red. It's a dark, dark red, dark crimson. It looks blue through your skin because of refraction. how light is absorbed and bent. Again, see these misconceptions? They're in our brains, guys. They're in our brains. So reflect, review. All right, we'll continue this tomorrow. Hopefully we'll finish it. All right, have a good day. Good day today, guys.